Well, hey there, thanks for joining us for this episode. We're going over Paul McCartney's FUH. But first, I'd like to give a big thanks to all our new Filipino subscribers out there. And I'm going to have a message for you in just a minute, but I've noticed we have several of them, and we really appreciate that. So let's get on with FUH. What would the other Beatles say? I don't know, let's try to go over that. And how do you critique the 20th century's greatest composer? Guys, thanks for joining us here at Rock Hard Riffs. This is the guitar channel for the self-taught. I just wanted to remind you guys and invite you to our live webcasts every Wednesday. That's 10 o'clock Eastern Time, 7 o'clock Pacific Time. And it's for about an hour. And we can go into subjects like this into much more depth and talk about it. You can talk about it real time, chat about it. So please join us for our live webcasts on Wednesday evenings, 10 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Pacific. Okay, so first things first, I'd like to give a big shout out and a big thanks to all of our new Filipino subscribers. We really appreciate that. Just to let you know, Mrs. Beans, my wife, happens to be Filipina. She's from the Philippines and she has a little message for you.
Nagpapasalamat kami sa inyong mga suporta at pagtangkilik sa Rock Hard Riffs. Kung hindi pa kayo nagso-subscribe, please subscribe. Mabuhay!
Awesome. Thank you, Mrs. Beans. And Mrs. Beans, you're from
Quezon City.
Quezon City, I'm sorry.
Actually, the province of Quezon.
Province of Quezon.
Yeah.
Now, Mrs. Beans is shy. She doesn't like to be on camera. But she's going to discuss with us this Paul McCartney song when we get to it. So we really appreciate her joining in with us on this. So one of the first things I wanted to think was like, you know, what would the other Beatles say to this FUH song by Paul? Now this would be my interpretation. I think Ringo would say, peace and love, I love it, peace and love. I think George would say, it's all in the mind. And I think John would say, I don't know, it's depressing. That's what John said about Coming Up. What was that, in late 79? I think that was Paul's last work before John was killed. But he said his initial response was, it's depressing. Just John being a contrarian, that's just what he did. So that was part of his personality. It was part of his charm, actually, too. But, all right, let's get to this FUH thing. Now, Mrs. Beans and I were talking before we made this video, and we were thinking, well, gosh, what about... How do you compare this to, say, My Love, or Jet, or Band on the Run? And I thought you could do that, but that's just not really fair, because you could do that with any so-called artist. You can compare new to old. I just don't think that's a fair way to do it, even though, do ask yourself, how does this stack up against those type of songs? Now, Mrs. Beans, what is your initial reaction to the song?
Well, I've listened to a lot of Paul McCartney songs, but
so you're going to rate it against other Paul songs then, huh?
Yeah. And it just, when I was listening to it, it just doesn't impress me as much as it did all the other Paul McCartney songs that's on the best hits.
Right.
That
doesn't even include Beatles hits.
Yeah. Right.
So we're not even talking about Beatles stuff. We're talking individual, or just Paul when he was solo or with Wings. Throw the Beatles into it. To me it kind of reminds me of the song just a little bit of Sea Moon, if you remember that song. Sea Moon is me, right? They kind of, just for little parts of it, remind me of that song. Now, I like, me personally, the chorus is okay. It's kind of cool. It has a little bit of depth to it, but the song overall, in my opinion, is just another commercial Paul McCartney pop song. That's how I'd put it. For good or bad, whatever. I mean, so, Paul is 76 now, and he's still rocking it, still putting the stuff out there. He's trying to stay relevant. I understand that. When you've been one of the biggest artists of all time, you want to stay relevant. I completely understand that. So the FUH, I think it's kind of a gimmick. I think that's kind of obvious. But again, that's just my opinion. Does it really matter? No. It's just another song. It's just another silly FUH song, is how I'd put it. Just another silly commercial song. So anyway, that's my take on it. Gimmick or not, who cares? Again, it's just another silly pop song, is how I would put it. But I love Paul, period, no matter what. Doesn't matter to me. Maybe someday I'll find myself humming it. I don't know. But anyway, that's my take. Please leave your comments, your opinion, etc. in the comment section. We really want to hear from you. What do you think of Paul McCartney's FUH? And be honest, who cares? Just keep it clean, all right? Keep the comments PG if you wouldn't mind. That's all we ask. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Mrs. Beans, please thank our Filipino subscribers once again.
Salamat sa inyong lahat, sa inyong suporta.
Thanks again, guys, and we will see you next video.